Hello, grade 10s. Welcome to our final week of class, really. It's early June, and this is it. This is your final project, your final ISU. There is no exam, and once you've got this project done, I'll be able to calculate your final marks, and you're free to have a good summer. With this final project, guys, I'm going to give you, a couple weeks to work on it. You don't have to have it done by this Friday, but ideally, by the middle of June, say June 15th, somewhere in there, you'll have this ready to go. So, trivia game. I want you to have some fun with this. I want you to be able to, pick any topic that interests you. It could be like something with video games or cars even, or maybe your favorite sports team, or a series of movies, or focused on one actor, or maybe music, your favorite band or TV show, or whatever. And you're going to create a trivia game for me. All right, so the game should have at least 15 questions, which it says down here. There's going to be an intro screen, so basically it starts with sort of a home screen that you click to play, and then it comes up with each question. And we'll go through these in like detail, all the steps here. You're going to store all the information into a list for the different questions, so we can go through each question one at a time. In order to pick an answer, you're going to just click on which one you think the answer is, and then once you do, a button will pop up and say either you got it or, sorry, the answer was Flametail or whatever. And then when you click, it'll go to the next question. It'll keep track of your score, and once you get to the last question, this button will change to like game over, click to exit the program, or something like that. All right, so there's nothing in here really that we haven't already learned for the most part, a few little things, but I'm going to go through, and I would recommend that you maybe start with the Pokemon trivia game and just make this with me. It's only 5 questions, just as sort of a template, and then you can just modify it and change it into your ISU. All right, that way I'll cover all the code with you, and then you just have to basically expand on it, get your own pictures and questions, change the design around, things like that. All right, so we're going to go through this in like 3 or 4 different phases to slowly build this up. So the first thing I want to do, guys, is just kind of design a mock screen that can be a question screen, complete with the radio buttons, picture, and all that stuff. All right, so one of the things that you're going to have to make sure you do is download the images. Now, I don't have them yet posted here, but by the time you get here, you'll be able to download the images. Now, they're going to come down, guys, in a folder, which is called, let me just get to that here for a second, Pokemon Trivia. All right, and in here are all the pictures I used for my sample game. Okay, so you're allowed to do that. Like you can have your pictures in a separate folder than your actual program. So here's my program called Trivial ISU, and beside it is the folder which contains the pictures. Okay, so when we go to refer to these pictures, we have to put in a little extra bit of a path so I can find them, but it'll work out in the end. All right, so before you start this with me, make sure you've downloaded those pictures and you've unzip them and put them on the desktop, or put them into your ISU folder or someplace where you can access them. All right, and then your program won't be in this folder, it'll be beside it, sort of at the same level, if that makes any sense. All right, so let's start then with a basic template, which I've got going here somewhere. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so here we go. So I copied and pasted the template from the from D2L, and I haven't really done anything else yet except the following things. So I've changed the title to Pokemon Trivia. I've given it kind of a yellow Pikachu type background, and of course you can change all this later if you want to. Padding is the same. I created this little def called Go, which just has the word pass in it for now, and that's it. Okay, and then there's a spot for the grid, there's a spot for the widgets, pretty much everything that we've got there. Now, I've already completed this step, and I'm just going to basically reintroduce it order line by line so we can explain the code. Okay, so I'm not going to be typing this code out, I'm just going to be kind of revealing it to you, and obviously it'll be going faster than you can type, so just pause as we go along so that you can keep caught up. All right, so we're going to start down in the widgets area, and I'll start with a button. Okay, so I'm going to create a button called Next Button, and for now, because it needs a command, it's going to point to this Go, and the Go button, sorry, the Go command doesn't do anything right now, so it just has text next question, right? And you saw where that comes up at the bottom of the screen to click to go to the next question. All right, so there's our first thing. I think we need some labels, so why don't we do that next? Okay, actually, before we do that, we're going to do a lot of config. So I want to, like I've shown you guys in the past how to change fonts and colors and things, and because this is your ISU, I want you to take the time to come up with like the right kind of colors and fonts and things that you are happy with. So I chose Comic Sans for pretty much all of the fonts everywhere. You're going to see Comic Sans MS because it's kind of a cartoony font that works well with Pokemon. All right, so you can pick any font you want to, but just stick with this one for now. All right, so then next we're going to do the scoreboard. All right, so you saw where the scoreboard has like the right label and it has a wrong label. All right, so with this label here, guys, you'll notice that I did all of the configuring and setting up all in one line of code. So here I did part of it in the first line, and then I added .config to add the additional properties. Okay, but with the right label, I just decided to do it all in one line of code. So you can do it as you make it as well, right? So the text is correct answer 0, same font, size 15 this time, green background because these are my right answers, and a width of 20. Okay, so then the left label is going to pretty much be the same, except it's going to be a background of red, and it's going to be wrong answer 0, right? So we'll show you that one next. Okay, and ignore that I just for a second. All right, so now I've got my wrong answers, my right answers, or labels rather, and my next button. Okay, so essentially these are, you know, if you can see here just really quick, this is the button here, the submit button. Okay, now for some reason on my Mac, guys, it doesn't pick up on the colors. It does the fonts, but not the colors. You may find on your PC that it works better. Just for buttons though. So the correct and the wrong answer labels are correctly green and red like I asked them to be. All right, but not these. All right, so next we're going to work on the image. All right, so we're going to pull one of the images and we'll just show it here just as a placeholder for now. All right, so going back to my program here for a second. So images equals photo image. Now here's what I was talking about. If you've got your images in a separate folder, then you got to put the name of the folder / name of image. Okay, so because these are all in a separate folder, I got to put that in front of the name of squirtle.gif. All right, and I'm calling it images because eventually, guys, this is going to be a list of images. So right now it's just one, but eventually it'll be more than one. So I'm just going to call it images right off the bat, and we can change that later. All right, so now that we have our image, we can put it into a label. So on the next line, actually, no, scratch that. We'll do that later. Sorry, I forgot the order these things went in. So now we're going to do our radio buttons next. Okay, so with radio buttons, guys, we did this way back in the pizza program. So we need this thing called a string var. So this string var is used to keep track of which radio button we have selected. Okay, so when we go to set up our radio buttons, A, B, C, and D, they're all going to be using this choice variable as the thing that they're setting when they get clicked on. All right, so before we set them up, though, I'm going to set choice to a question mark. That way, it doesn't pre-select any of the options A, B, C, or D. Okay, so by setting it to a question mark, it means all 4 of the choices are empty to begin with. All right, if you're not sure what I'm talking about here, I'm talking about like these choices here, right? So when the question first loads, I don't want any of these to have dots in them. And then when I pick one, the dot goes into that one thing I picked. All right, but initially nothing is selected. All right, so back to our program we go. All right, so now I'm going to create my radio buttons. So we'll do the first one a little bit slower, and then I'm just going to have you copy and paste them to get the rest of them going. All right, so the first radio button, actually, sorry, we're going to do the Q label first, then we'll do the radio button. So there's my question label, and then I'm configuring that to black on yellow. Okay, so this Q label here, forgot about that. Is this big label at the top here. So what is Charmander's main attack? So that's my question label, so I just called that Q label. Okay, and you notice it's big, it's black and yellow, and it's got a font of that big Comic Sans, right? So you can see that here. I've got the Comic Sans size 30, black, yellow, and for now it's just going to say this is a question. All right, I think next comes the radio buttons, if I'm not mistaken. No, first comes the image label. Okay, so there's the image label that goes with the images up here, the photo image. So we're just plugging it into here. Okay, now comes the radio buttons. Okay, so I'm going to have them called choice A, B, C, and D. So when you make a radio button, guys, just like a label or a button, you give it some text. All right. You also have to supply it with a value. Okay, so this value here of 1 in quotes is what's going to be applied to choice if I select this button. So if I select choice A, it's going to set choice to the number 1. All right? Not until I say this though. Okay, so variable equals choice. Okay, so that's going to connect choice A to this choice string var, so that when I click on it, then the value of 1 is going to be set to choice. All right, the rest of this is just styling. Okay. Oh, first of all, command equals go, so it's going to run the same go def for now. So when I click on it, it's going to run go. And then comes the styling. Okay, so when you click on a radio button, you can have it also run a command, which is something we haven't seen before. Okay, because right now the other button, next button, is also running it, but that's okay for now because it doesn't do anything. Okay, but we can, right when we click on a radio button, run a command if we want to. So that's what that does. Alright, so that's probably the hardest control to make, guys, because there's a lot going on. Okay, you got to set the text and the value and the choice, so you have to do those 3 things. If you want it to run something when you click on it, you got to add a command, and then I'm setting the font here. I'm also setting the background of this radio button, guys, to be the same as the background of the entire app. That way you don't see a box around it, and it looks like it's see-through, okay, so that you don't get these ugly boxes around each choice. Okay, so if that makes sense, I'm going to just go ahead and copy and paste this to choices B, C, and D. Okay, and when I do this, I'll do this right now. Boom. Okay. You can see I've changed them to B, C, and D. Okay, so just go through and a lot of this is the same, but there's a few key things that are different. So the text is different. Obviously the name of the radio button is different. The value has to be different too. Okay, so every one of these choices sends a different value to the variable choice. And then later on we'll see, based on what choice is, which one they chose. All right, they're all going to run the same command go for now, and same font, same size, same background. All right, so I think that's all the widgets we need, guys. So the next thing, of course, is to put them on the grid. Okay, so we'll start with the Q label. So it's going to go row 1, column span 3. All right, so again, if you look at this close up, this kind of looks like it's like 1 column, 2 columns, but it's actually 3. And the reason I did that, guys, is because I wanted column 1 to be left kind of blank. And so this is actually, like, correct answers is in column 2, and wrong answers is in column 3. So this has to span 3. All right. Now there's another little trick that we've never done before, and it's how I left align things. Okay, so these 4 options and these things here, they are kind of what we call sticky to the left side or the west side of the container. Okay, it's kind of a weird little piece of code we have to put in, but you'll see it in a second. When we go to put these on the grid, we're also saying, hey, I want these to stick to the left side, or what we call the west side, like north, south, east, west, so that they are left aligned. Okay, so this is a 3 by 2. Okay, it's a bit of a weird design, but I came up with it myself because I think it looks pretty good. So this is column span of 3. All right, so it'll make more sense when we see the rest of the grid code here in just a second, guys. All right, so then next we're going to do the labels. Okay, so the labels are both in row 2, columns 2 and 3. Notice we're not using column 1 in row 2, 2 and 3. Okay, and there's that sticky equals W. Okay, that forces it to be to the left side of the row column box. Okay, so we'll do the same thing for the next. Like the next row is going to have choices A and B, and then the next row is going to have choices C and D. Actually, no, I lied. The next row is going to have the image. So we'll do the image first, right? So there's the image label. So again, just like the Q label, it's in row 3, column 1, column span 3, so it takes up the entire row. Okay, now we're going to do the choice A, B, C. Okay, so I just put them all in at once, and again, you can copy paste, take your time to get this out. So row 4, columns 2 and 3, sticky west, and then choice C and D are row 5, columns 2 and 3, sticky west. All right, so that's almost everything. The thing we have left to do is the button. Okay, so the button goes by itself in row 6, and it takes up the entire row. So again, it's got a column span as well. Okay, so it's row 6, column 1, column span 3. So that's the next button at the very bottom of the screen. Okay, again, that's this button, this big gray button down here. Now you don't always see that button, but we're going to see it up front because we want it to see what it looks like. All right, so that's it just to get the layout. Okay, it's not really going to work yet, but I just want to see what the design of this thing is. Maybe because we have a couple of extra rows and a couple extra columns here, we'll come up here to the config, row config, and we'll add some padding for rows 3, 4, 5, and 6. And then the same with the columns. We have an extra column, so we'll add a padding for that. All right, so I realized that was pretty fast because I didn't type it out. I just kind of revealed it one line at a time and tried my best to explain it. Sometimes I forgot the next thing that was coming up, so I did things a bit out of order, but this is basically where you should be at the end of the first phase of this. All right, so I can run this, and I should get this. Okay, so this is what you should get. So this is a question, correct answers, wrong answers, pick A, B, C, D, next question. Okay, nothing works yet, but I just wanted to get the layout working first. Alright, so in the next video, we're going to start loading up the questions and the images in a list so that we can start actually seeing real questions, and maybe we'll even get this button to advance to the next question as well.